I occupied the office next to him for about a few hours every day and overheard conversations with students. I remember thinking to myself, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. He is now a special project awarding coordinator. These duties include awarding for special terms, overseeing financial aid for study abroad, document imaging for our office, and a grant program. You can depend on Andrew to come in, do his job, and do it very well. The grant program is new to his position and he has taken off any of it. He does his job without complaint and always in a professional and impressively calm manner. Whenever he has a question or a new situation involving a student, he generally has taken care of the situation or will take care of it in the utmost respect. Congratulations, Andrew, on this award. You really deserve it.
One, two. Congratulations and thank you to Andrew. Our next awardee is going to be Emio Zinn, an academic advisor in the Mahurin Honors College. Emio was nominated for the Christopher Ware Staff Star Award by Nina Marjanovic. She couldn't join us today, but she did share some words about Emio. This is from Nina. I'm thrilled to nominate Emio for the recognition of the Ware Award. Emio is a quiet yet powerful force within our team, consistently demonstrating exceptional dedication, collaboration, and meticulous attention to detail. Emio approaches every task with a willingness and enthusiasm that is truly inspiring. No matter the challenge, she steps up and delivers results with precision and reliability. Her ability to seamlessly collaborate with others has made her an invaluable team member, fostering a supportive and cohesive work environment. Emio's contributions are always thorough and meticulously executed, reflecting her commitment to excellence in every aspect of her work. One of Emio's most remarkable qualities is her calm and composed demeanor. This tranquility enables her to establish strong rapport with students, which significantly enhances her effectiveness as an academic advisor. Students feel comfortable and supported in her presence, which is crucial for their academic and personal development. Her ability to connect with students on a personal level ensures that they receive the guidance and support that they need to thrive. Emio's impact extends beyond her primary responsibilities. She consistently goes above and beyond, contributing to the overall success of our department and institution. Her proactive approach, coupled with her collaborative spirit, sets a high standard for her peers and inspires all to strive for excellence. Emio embodies the qualities of an exceptional team member and academic advisor. Her dedication, collaboration, meticulousness, and calm demeanor make her a standout colleague who greatly contributes to the successes of our students and our team. It's with great enthusiasm that I nominate Emio for this well-deserved recognition. And I'd now like to welcome her supervisor, Naomi Rowland, to say a few more words about Emio.
Hello. So on a personal level, Emio and I started just 1 year ago in our positions pretty much at the same time. And we didn't have a second advisor. So Emio and I were it for 1,100 students for the year. So we were learning our job and also trying to serve the students the best that we could. You would never have known that she had just graduated herself because she was so professional all this year. Her calmness makes all of us calm. She's just professional all the time. And throughout all the different, just learning our job and the challenges with that, she has never complained. Never. I have never heard her say anything negative ever. And that just speaks volumes about her. So she's amazing. She's going on to medical school in the next couple of years. And literally, I often think you're the kind of doctor that I would want eventually because you're so awesome. So very well deserved.
Congratulations to you. Finally, we would like to recognize Ryan Wilson. Ryan is the curriculum coordinator in the Office of the Registrar. To share a few words, I'd like to invite both his nominator and his supervisor, Jessica Doris, Assistant Registrar in the Registrar's Office, to come up.
All right. Or seat. Okay, so I've had the distinct pleasure of working with Ryan for about 6 years now. He is of constant support to me and the rest of our registrar team. Could not ask for a more helpful and conscientious colleague. Ryan would never seek to claim credit, but he is instrumental to the advising efforts of pretty much the entire university. So probably didn't know that. Ryan currently programs our electronic degree system, DegreeWorks. This advising tool is used by faculty, staff, and students to track excuse me, really bad in front of people. I'm just gonna put that out there. Degree progress. You know the lengths he goes to ensure his programming accurately reflects the requirements of the program. Ryan is meticulous and methodical. If there are issues, he works with the program to address those issues and concerns most expeditiously. Most recently, Ryan was instrumental in the move from ICAP to DegreeWorks. He evaluated and manually moved hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students, being careful to consider the needs of each student and minimize the impact on students. A lot of registrar work happens behind the scenes. That's where we're more comfortable, is behind the scenes. This is certainly the case for Ryan. His work is crucial to the success of our students, and he is truly an unsung hero on campus. So.
Thank you. Congratulations to Ryan and to Emio and to Andrew. We want to thank the three of you again so much for all that you do. The work that they do contributes to WKU's success, it contributes to our students' success, and it's really invaluable. And if you work with anyone who you think ought to be recognized, if you work with someone who goes above and beyond and you would like to see their hard work recognized and brought forward, please go to our Staff Senate website and complete the questionnaire so that we can consider them for the Christopher Ware Staff Star Award. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jordan, and thank you to everyone for the awards. And next, our guest speaker is President Kaboni, and we're gonna all move up here so you can. Yeah.
Good morning. Thank you all for having me. This is actually one of my favorite things I get to do each year, is visit with you all and answer some questions and provide a little bit of clarity for our staff, our university. But I'm going to start today with some contextualization, which I think is important for all of us. That I know that how you experience the organization, the university, depends upon where you sit in the university. And that's a variable experience. And I want to acknowledge that, and I want to let you know that I think about that a lot. Because depending upon the challenges your organization might face within the organization, you may feel different about the organization than someone in a place that might be facing some fewer challenges. There were a lot of questions this year around budget. And so we've been working hard on the budget, but I want to share with you the real data, because again, if you experience the organization in a way that directly affects your life, things might feel different than some of the data I'm going to share with you. So the first thing to know, and this is really important for our whole organization, that this year's budget is $4.3 million more than last year's budget. And in the past 4 years, from 2022 to today, we've grown to $394 million. That's up from $375 million, almost $20 million in additional revenue. So in that context, some folks are, well, where's our budget problem? We don't have a budget problem. We have a spending challenge, and we're addressing it directly, and I'll spend some time talking about that. But the other kind of main thing that I think emerged thematically around the questions was around raises. So we've managed, and I'm proud of this work, I'm proud of the BDC for their work, to have a 2% raise pool each of the past 4 years. Now, I know what inflation is doing outside of the organization. I know what inflation feels like on your families. I know what inflation is doing to us as a university. And so that 2% is not inflation. But at the same time, we've managed to award in the past 4 years, it's $2.5 million every time we do a 2% increase, $10 million. So think about what that means. As our budget has increased $20 million, more than half of that has gone to compensation and not benefits, raises. That's crucially important as we have the conversation today, because I want you to hear from me. We are committed to continuing to have a raise pool each year. And I want to make the BEC aware of that. For those of you who are on it, my expectation is the BEC will send to the provost, the EVP and me, a recommendation for another 2% or more pool this year. But, and this is, I think, part of our maturation as a university, we can no longer do 2% across the board raises. Why not? Well, because if I'm a high achieving, high performer, and I look down the hall at a low achieving, low performer, I'm not calling anybody out or saying any names. But why would I work hard or harder when the person who isn't working hard is getting the same amount of compensation that I'm going to get? And so I think as a university, the BEC, I'm going to urge them to think about how next year we use performance evaluation, which we've been working hard on for the past several years, to create rewards that aren't across the board. And what does that mean? It means if we have a 2% pool, awards and compensation increases might range from 1% to 5% for a very high achieving, high performing faculty and staff. Now, if I get a 5% raise, what does that say to me? Well, it says, I hope it says thank you for all you do. I hope it says you've been doing great work. If I get a 1% raise, what does that say to me? Well, it might be a signal you need to do more, and why. And so as the BEC has its conversation this year, I'm going to encourage them to think about how it is we use performance evaluations in those raises. The other thing that came out for me in the questions and comments was around needing help. I'm in my job and I need more help. And why we have so many executive administrators. So it might feel like that to you, that we've been growing executives at the university while we've been cutting everything else. So I went to the fact book, the 2024 fact book. You should go to page 61 if you want to look at these data yourselves. Since fall of 2019, and I'm going to have to pull out my glasses for this one, executive and / administrative positions have gone from 98 to 101. We've added 3. Professional non-faculty positions, these are the folks that work directly with our students to help them be successful, have gone from 609 to 654 professional staff. Now, this is where you feel the decline. On clerical and secretarial, we've gone from 251 to 162. But why? Why? Because the nature of our work is changing. And I don't think we're going to go back to a world where we have secretarial and clerical support at the front of every department. And so we have to think about how we work smarter and more efficiently with those roles. This is not just WKU, this is higher education generally, and it's certainly in the corporate world as well. It doesn't look like 1950 anymore. We have to figure out how we work smarter and use technology and other things to help us be more efficient. Now, 2 places that did jump out at me, and we'll talk about specifics later, were skilled crafts and service and maintenance. And I see some of y'all here in the room. Still, skilled craft went from 85 to 64. And service and maintenance went from 57 to 34. And you all feel that. I know you all feel that. But we've been working hard. I know there are 10 searches that I'll talk about specifically in your area a bit later. And I'm proud that we've managed to get compensation up to 90% of benchmark in your area. So hear me, we're listening. The organization appreciates you, and we're going to work hard to make sure that we meet your needs and meet the institution's needs. But now I want to get to the questions you provided me to kind of shape my comments, and then a reminder of why we do it this way. We evolved this over time. I remember the first time I came, I just showed up and we spent 30 minutes together and I left. And some folks said it was not as productive as they wanted. So we asked some more questions. Great. And then people were not comfortable submitting questions because they were fearful that the questions would be assigned to them. I'll tell you, when the questions come in, they tend to overlap a great deal. So to make this more efficient, we made it anonymous to me for sure, and I think it's anonymous to everyone. And then we grouped them by categories so that it makes sure folks don't feel exposed by asking questions, and it can be an efficient use of my time. The other thing it does, and we don't have this challenge as much in here as we might have in our other Senate, it eliminates the possibility of a 15-minute question that becomes not a question, but a filibuster. So just a reminder why we do it this way. And I'm pleased to be with you. So the first set of questions were really around human resources, budget constraints. How do we celebrate staff? How do we deal with morale in my office particularly? And how do we think about compensation? So, and around recognition. So I love the Chris Ware Awards. He was one of my favorite staff senators when I first arrived. And I love that we honor his work and his memory, but also honor your work each month. And so I want to talk about the other recognition programs that we do that to me are important because it says to you as staff members, your work is valued by the institution. So some of you may know we do the Staff Excellence Awards each spring, and they're awarded to staff members for excellence in service of the following categories: customer service, teamwork, student support, obviously crucial to us, our part-time staff, and the Unsung Hero Award. We have an annual recognition event where those winners are awarded $1,000. We also award gifts for staff when they achieve 25 years of service. If you haven't hit 25 years, you might not know that. And so we're glad to do that. Obviously, the Chris Ware Awards, I'm proud that you all have created that. And then we also have the Spirit of WKU Award each year at Convocation. Many times that's won by a member of the staff. So that's one way. The other thing that we did this year, and this is in direct response to last year, there was a question asked of me, why do you welcome the new faculty and you don't have the new staff over to the house? Well, the answer is because we just kept doing what we had always been doing, but it was a great new idea. And so just this past couple weeks ago, we had everyone who joined our organization from July 1 of last year up until August 1 of this year, invited them over. We had some snacks and some drinks, and we got to know one another. I'll tell you this, it's interesting to me because we know this is the case over time. These folks were so excited and so happy to be employed at WKU. I intentionally, because I had gotten your questions or knew what they were going to be, I wanted to ask them what they felt about the university. And to a T, they were positive, they were excited, and they were glad to be here. And so I want to make sure that everyone feels like that about the university as much as we possibly can. So when we think about boosting morale, I want to think about it from a couple of different ways. Number one, the work that you do is so meaningful to our institution. You've heard me say it doesn't matter what your job is. what you have to do every day is make sure every person who comes to this university gets a degree. And that's meaningful work. So when you ask me in the questions about how does I increase morale in my organization, the people that work with me, the first thing we focus on is what's important. And what's most important about what we do is our students in getting the degrees, because that experience changes their lives. That's much more meaningful for me than doing other types of work that I could possibly do. So some of you know, I did public affairs, public relations, and marketing work before I came to the university. Before that, I was a faculty member and associate dean. I could have done public relations for any number of kinds of companies, and I would have made a lot more money. And it had absolutely no meaning in my life. And so every day when I get up, I remind myself of why I do what I do. And I want every person that works with me to get up and think about why they do what they do. And if you're a supervisor, I want you to supervise and help your folks understand why they get up and do what they do. And it's because you're changing people's lives. For leaders, boosting morale also means taking advantage of the flexibility we have as an institution. So you know we have work-life harmony opportunities, but some of us can't work from away. I want to remind you all, and I think this is important because it's a different context in which we work than many folks outside of the university. If you think about the amount of paid time off we get and as an institution, I know it's variable. Some folks don't get all this, but if you're a staff member, think about what we've done in the past several years. So you used to get about 20 days off, right, with holidays and winter break. And then we added something called summer houses. And I hope everybody appreciates this, because that's another 12 days, sometimes more, off each summer. You add to that 20 hours of vacation. 20 days of vacation. You're talking about 2.5 months of paid time off every year. Pretty good work environment. Find me a for-profit company that does that, and I'd love to know about it. There was a question here about, can we go to a permanent 4-day week? No, we can't. We got to meet our obligations, but you do have the opportunity to work with your supervisor to create additional flexibility. Now, you know this is a weird winter break schedule if you've been paying attention, right? And we go away for Thanksgiving, and then we come back and it's final exams, and then we have commencement essentially a week after Thanksgiving. And then we're all supposed to sit here for another couple of weeks or something crazy like that. So here's a bit of news for everyone who's watching. We're going to have 5 additional days off at winter break this year from the 16th through the 20th. We know how hard you work. I know how much you do. And any opportunity we have to reward you, we want to. It may not just be cash. It may not be raises, but we want to do everything we can to make your lives easier and better. And look, don't forget, you all now get spring break and fall break that you didn't get before either. And so we're working hard. It may not be dollars every time, but we want to make things better. Now, I don't have an announcement on this one today, but we're working toward potentially having some more free tickets for faculty and staff for the football games, along with 2 free drinks and 2 hot dogs or 4 hot dogs. We don't have it done yet, but we want to do that. It's just another nice way to say thank you, like the Spencer's coffee was. Now, I will say, we did that 1 year, and I got just beaten up for free coffee. I don't know if you all know this, but I certainly do know it. So the free, you're going to give us free coffee and not a 3% raise. I'm like, well, come on, we're trying to do something nice. And so Tanya let me know you all are going to have an event at the Commons, right?
Yes.
on the 17th of September. I can't be there. I will be, I think, in front of the legislature. So, you all will be having a lot more fun than I will. But we're gonna, that day when you all have your event, we're just gonna open up Spencer's. And, y'all get whatever coffee y'all want that day to celebrate, those new awards. So I can't be there, but Spencer's will be open for you. So glad to do that. So the other thing I want to talk about is, how we adapt organizationally, right? So there's some question around staffing here. And I walked through staffing with you all, in terms of its variability. We can't do everything as a university. Can't do everything. But we can do anything. We just have to be selective and strategic and pick what it is. And so there are resources available to do things, but there are not the resources available to do everything. And I also want to spend some time on the grant model and decentralized budgeting. Your relationship as staff members, and I'm talking to all staff here, is the crucially important one. When you think about budgets, budgets are no longer dictated centrally, right? We have a model that says control happens at the unit level, meaning big unit level. The deans, the VPs for enrollment and student success, Susan Shop, Bud Shop, and they have the ability and have had the ability to make compensation decisions for their organization. If there are extra dollars available, they can allocate those to salary. They don't have to ask my permission or HR's permission. They have to have a conversation with HR. And we've had many organizations across the campus do that work to get us really toward that compensation model target for benchmarks. It's important work, and we're going to continue to do it. You will recall the BEC made the recommendation last year for a 2% salary pool. That 2% salary pool is going to happen this year in January. The BEC is working hard and will continue to work hard to figure out and to make recommendations about how that 2% pool is allocated. So you remember last year, there was 1% in January and then another 1% to deal with market compression and inversion. I don't know what the BEC is going to do this year, but you did hear me ask about them. Ask them to consider next year using performance evaluations for a broader kind of raise pools. So flexibility. As much as I wish I could figure out how to make flexibility for you in your part of the university, you got to work with your supervisor. Now, I will tell you, we learned so much during COVID, right? The university operates really differently than it did 3-4 years ago. We've taken advantage of that in that if you have some needs at home, well, great, take care of it. I want to make sure that supervisors hear from me. You need to be flexible with your employees. If folks need to take time away to go deal with medical issues or family issues, go deal with their family issues, right? When most of us, not the folks that were working to make the place look beautiful, but most of us were working from at home. Nobody knew what you were doing, trusted that you were getting your work done. And so I would encourage supervisors to continue that kind of flexibility. And for HR, looking at Susan here, we need to train our supervisors even more than we do today to help them understand their job is as a leader, right? And it's not just to supervise, it's to lead. And that's a different kind of work. If you lead, you can help people think about their professional careers, their lives, and what they want to do, not just now, but in the future. And so there was a direct question about how do I build morale with the folks with whom I work? I'm very intentional about professional development opportunities. I'm intentional about asking people, what do you want to learn that you don't know how to do now? What's an additional skill set that we can build for you? And this is probably the most important question I ask. And I ask it of every person that works with me. Where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years? It doesn't have to be here. That's okay. People want to have careers that look different over a lifetime. Most folks are not going to be at the same organization for 30 years any longer. It's just not the world we live in. If you want to do that, that's awesome. We want to have faculty and staff spend their entire careers here. It's good for our university. It's good for our students. But when I ask that, the next obligation that I have as a manager and as a leader is saying, okay, how do we create experiences that grow you? That allow you to be tomorrow more than you are today? And in 3 years, when you look at me, or in 5 years, when you look at me and say, I'm tired of doing what I'm doing now, can you help me get to the next thing? My answer is always absolutely. Absolutely. We are in the human capital development business. We do it with students, and because we're a learning organization, we should be doing that with every single member of our staff. And so again, when I think about how do you build that morale, it's having leaders, supervisors, but leaders who know how to have that conversation with the folks with whom they work. And look, we need to do a better job as a university creating career ladders that are outside of a vertical. Let me give you an example of this. Morgan, I don't have to say her last name, I hope she's watching, worked really hard for us in admissions, and she does marketing. And she's terrific at it. And she hit a ceiling. There was no marketing position above her in admissions. And she'd been doing admissions for a while. And she was talented. And so as a leader of the university, what do I want to see for Morgan? Well, I don't want her to look to another university or outside to go do marketing. I want to retain her. But if you don't create another opportunity for her, how are you going to retain her? And so we did have a position open up. We did a search. She applied. She was the best candidate. All of a sudden, instead of being in admissions, she moved over into a different vertical, into academic affairs. And then she moved up. We have to be intentional in our HR strategy about creating those career ladders for people, even if they're not a direct path up. And we need to be willing to have those conversations. And to leadership, I'm charging you all, meaning all of us who are in supervisory positions, to think about your folks this way, right? You want to grow them. You want to provide them opportunity. You want them to continue to learn. You want them to continue to be excited about doing what they do every day. And part of that is around helping them sometimes find the next thing. Even though it might hurt that someone is leaving, even though it might be hard or impossible to replace that kind of talent, it's our obligation. And so that's kind of how I do it. I would encourage everyone across the campus that has supervisory responsibility to think of it the same way. Okay, timesheets. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on timesheets. Why can't they be the same across the board for all departments? Different work requires different kinds of tracking. I appreciate some people hate the paper timesheets. We're not going to put the click in, swipe thing for everyone. I know some people are like, well, why do I have to swipe in when everybody gets to the timesheets? The answer is, I don't know. We allow your part of the university to do that the way they need to do it. And so if it's not efficient, talk to your supervisor and have that conversation. I do think that's important. And that's not a great answer, but I don't pay attention to timesheets that much. But Susan, I will look to you to make sure we follow up on that and we're doing the best we can. All right, health insurance. And to whomever submitted this question, I want to thank you for recognizing everything that we've tried to do over the past 5 years. So if you've been paying attention, for those of you who are on the benefits committee, you know the university has not increased your contribution to our health plan in 5 years. We did that because we knew we didn't have huge raise pools. And so the split now is a little off kilter. And so we're going to have to get that back in kilter. So I want to thank whoever asked this question, thank them for acknowledging that. But you know the same inflationary pressures that you all are feeling at the grocery store, we're feeling on everything that we do as an institution, including healthcare. Now, we did take a look last year. The Benefits Committee worked really hard to take a look at our plan because I looked to the EVP and asked her, why are we self-funded? Can we get a better deal in the marketplace? And the answer to that question is no. We went outside, we had Mercer work with us on this. So per their national employer-sponsored healthcare survey, before plan changes, the 5-year national average increase in health benefits cost was 6% national. And for us, it was 3.8%. And our employee contributions remained flat, which means the university absorbed the 3.8% increases. That's going to continue into the future. Our medical costs, and I'm thankful for everyone who, and I know it's a pain, everyone who does Vitality. I know it's, I was scrambling too. It was just August last week, right? Like I didn't get my blood taken. Casey, we got to go do our blood draw. But paying attention to that, trying to exercise and stay healthy and watch your diet and all the things that Casey will tell you I'm terrible at, allowed us to have a cost per member per month and our expenses that was 21% less than college and university benchmarks. That's really important because having a healthy community not only keeps us in a good place personally, but also allows us not to have the same kinds of cost increases you have everywhere else. Compared to 6 other regional universities in the Know Your RX coalition, this is a prescription drug coalition, our drug cost per member per month we're right about average. And so we're not overspending there, but we're not underspending. Our employee-only contributions are lower than higher education benchmarks for both the high deductible health plan and the 2 PPO plans. But I know this too, that family contributions are higher and are generally in line with the PPO plans, but higher than benchmarks for the high deductible plans. And so the benefits committee will continue to take a look at this over time to see how we can both reduce our costs and manage to constrain those contributions we ask from you. With an 83-17 split, the university picking up 83% of the cost of healthcare employees, paying about 17%. What's driving all this? Well, everything we know about COVID, long COVID, all the treatments, and then inflation is pressuring not just the cost of goods, but also the cost of work, and then the population health status and healthcare usage after the pandemic really went up. So everyone who stayed home and didn't go to the doctor all of a sudden said, oh, I didn't take care of the things I needed to take care of. I need to do that now. And so you see an increase in utilization. And so we're going to continue to work on our benefits packages and try to find ways to improve affordability. And one of the specific questions I got was around Ozempic, right? And Bowling Green apparently is the nation's #1 user of Ozempic. I don't know if you saw that. The class of drugs is known as GLP-1, and we do treat type 2 diabetes for that. With that, it's approved for that usage. We also have necessary bariatric surgery. So the question is, why can't we get access to Ozempic to lose some weight? Well, here's the deal. It costs $1,400 a month on average for that drug. And if we covered that for everyone who needed to lose weight, including me perhaps, it would drastically increase the employee contributions necessary. So I appreciate it. I am hopeful, if you've been following along how this drug has progressed, the suggestion is in the next 3 to 5 years, price will come down and there may even be a pill version, non-injectable. And so we'll continue to watch and look. I do think losing weight is good for all of us who need to. And so, but that's why not for weight loss. Mental health, and not just mental health treatment, but like how do we work together on our community's mental health? Well, I think part of this is making sure leaders have that flexibility for every staff member, every faculty member, that we have a little bit more built in to be able to deal with what they need to deal with, right? And so flexibility is the key. But we have some other services that are available to us. The Anthem Employee Assistance Program, it's an EAP, is a free resource for both faculty and staff. They have seminars and webinars on managing work-life stress. They have stress reduction programs. And so I encourage you to think about those. If you go into Top Life and do the work there around vitality, there are some great coaching options available to you. They'll call you from Minnesota and have conversations around how you manage through everything you have to manage through. And they do a really nice job around that, around health coaching, and additionally stress management. And then lastly, MedCenter Health does have a full complement right here on campus. There are healthcare partners right across from where the college of education is, and they have a range of services, including mental health services. And so we also have things spread across campus, including Health and Human Services College does some work here. So I encourage you to just take advantage of all of those things. On the parental leave policy, we're not going to make any revisions to that. It is benchmarked as one of the most generous in the region. And we're proud of that work and proud that we've done it. So major funding initiatives or partnerships. So first of all, the more we can grow external funding, the better it is for a university. And we'll talk a little bit about that in R2 in a few minutes. State funding. Now, I will say this, I'm thankful for the legislature. For the first time in a long time, they've invested in our university in a way they have not been. And so I wish it were to, across the board, bottom line budgets. Fortunately, we got some this past year, but I don't know if that's going to continue into future years, right? But I'm thankful for their seeing the value in what inflation was doing to all of our budgets. Number two, they have invested in capital projects, and I'll address debt in a second. The business school building is desperately needed, a priority for our university for almost 20 years, and I'm proud that we were able to get that done. And it's coming out of the ground beautifully well. Asset preservation, working hard to make sure our campus gets taken better care of with dollars from the state. We cannot maintain our physical plant without those asset preservation dollars. Lastly, we got to help them understand the importance of continuing to invest in performance funding. It allows us to compete against other institutions on a range of things that are important and are embedded in our strategic plan. So we'll continue to do that. Now, lastly, I think we can leverage our partnerships with Warren County and Bowling Green through the Innovation Campus to create additional revenue streams for us. But the most important thing we do, and you know we're tuition driven, is to be innovative. And we need to continually ask ourselves as a university, what are the things that we're doing now that we don't need to be doing? And on the flip side, what are the new things that we can do that will be interesting and attractive to students, employees, and other folks in the region? So we continue to do that work. We need to do better. Now, to the construction projects and the question around cost overrun. The university has been very good and very conservative about planning construction projects. We've never had a cost overrun in the past 15 years of building on our campus, but inflation and the cost of labor did push us over for both the business school building and Hilltopper Fieldhouse project. But this is what I want you to know. We already have $9.5 million committed to the College of Business project. We're going to continue working to raise additional funds. Same thing for the Hilltopper Fieldhouse project. But we retire some of more of our long-term debt in the fiscal year 2028 year. And so in 2028, our debt load will actually be lower than it is today. But the thing I'm most proud of is if you look at where we were at our long-term debt high, it was $200 million. And in 2028, we will have brought that down to $100 million. That is tremendous work. It has taken tremendous discipline. It means we can't just do everything we want to do because we want to. We only do the things that are necessary. But that's been really good work, and I'm proud of it. And I'm proud of everyone that helped get us there. Now, why are we only aiming to spend 92% of our budgets. Why don't you just cut our budget by 8%? Well, the reality is that's good fiscal discipline. And if anybody knows anything about me, you know I'm fiscally conservative about how we manage our budgets. What you don't want to do is spend up to 100%, ever, really. And then beyond that, you don't want to overspend. Wrestling minute. Why don't you want to spend 100%? I'm gonna use a simple way, but we have big air conditioning units here all over this campus as well, and chillers. If you get to the end of the year and your air conditioner goes out, you don't have any money, you don't want to put it on the credit card. We don't want to put it on the credit card. And so we're working hard to make sure that we have resource flexibility to address all of our needs. And at the same time, making sure we have the capacity to build for the long term any types of reserves that we need. It's important for our credit rating. It's important for future out years and flexibility in the colleges and units. So we're going to continue to push for conservative spending. Now, somebody asked, who overspent? The BEC will be beginning conversations around spending this afternoon. I'll tell you, we had 4 of our 6 units come in under budget, major units. 2 were a little bit over. But the units are college of education by a smidge. We had enrollment student experience, also by a little bit bigger smidge, athletics again. And so what we're growing as an institution into is this. Someone asked in some conversation, well, are we going to hold people who overspend accountable? And is it going to be transparent? And my answer to that is yes, absolutely. And if you do that, you're going to have to pay it back. And so this afternoon, that process will begin. The BEC will get their data from last year. Athletics is the first group to present on campus. And they know what questions are likely to come. And they're going to have to answer difficult, challenging questions, including how is it that an overspend gets returned to the institution. But what I'm most proud of is actually the process. And so we have a process in place that not only are we being conservative fiscally, we're monitoring each month. Leadership is watching these in a way that we never had to before. And we're going to bring folks and hold them accountable for their spending. And so there's some units that did great on campus. There are some that did okay, and some that did less great. And that's part of us growing up as a university and figuring out how as we manage that process and hold folks. Now, I'm going to be mindful of time here. I got about 8 minutes to go. If I can go to 11, right? So Aramark, I know it feels like it's kind of a pain if you want to go have food from off campus brought to your event. And because you got to ask Aramark permission. Aramark is an important partner for this university. Their work with us allowed us to do the Commons Project. Dining is not a core function of the university. And so anytime it's not a core function, we try to figure out, can we partner with somebody externally to do that work? Robert Hoffman is a terrific partner for me in particular. So I don't know if you all noticed, but orange chicken at Panda is now a meal swipe. I know you think this is the question that I got from students every year, over and over and over again. This is year 8. I was going to get it again if I didn't get this fixed. So now they can use this as a meal swipe. Well, what Robert did is he had to figure out all his back-end processes that allow them to meet the demand in front of the house for that orange chicken. And so I'm thankful for them. They figured it out. They take care of so much stuff for us. And it's just typical for a university to have that kind of dining contract. But if you want to have food off campus, tell you, I don't know of a situation where Aramark said, no, you can't have off-campus food. You have to use us. And so if that happens, somebody let me know. Robert has been very, very flexible, and he'll continue to be. All right. Taking your trash down the hall. Offices get cleaned once a week. Your trash gets taken out once a week. I know it's a little bit of walking, If you eat tuna or sardines at your desk, as everyone in my office unfortunately knows that I do, don't throw it in your trash can under the desk, please. Just walk down the hall. Those get cleaned every day. They'll continue to get cleaned every day. If something's, as the question said, nasty, or no one's cleaning, call the facilities office at 53253. And tell them, and they're very responsive. They'll work to make sure that whatever it is gets addressed, but don't throw sardines under your desk. University Facilities Committee, we are taking a look at the Sodexo contract. It's important work. But the preliminary findings from that group indicate that the contract offers significant advantages, including reliability, cost management, and flexibility. But there are some things that we can do in the contract. So to strengthen our partnership, we're going to work through the fall semester, as we've done hopefully in the spring, to figure out how it is we renegotiate that contract to benefit the university as well. And so I know this is connected to facilities and why we're doing that. Well, why don't we just hire everybody instead of getting some contract folks to come in and do it? There are a few different reasons. So it allows us to move quickly, more quickly than if we had to find and bring in full-time permanent talent, especially around those very specialized things that maybe we don't need all the time, but we need occasionally. And this is the DFM personnel compensation point that I want to make. We are still struggling in the marketplace. I know that. You all know that. We've worked really hard. We are now at 90% of midpoint salary band on average. And so this improvement in compensation have made those facility positions more attractive. And so that plus work-life balance, I hope will produce some results. So we've been listening and we've been working. And right now DFM has 10 positions posted. So 2 HVAC, 2 painters, 4 general maintenance, a plumber, and electrician, and they're all supported in the current year budget. And so we want to get help where help is needed. We're listening, and we're moving as fast as we can. One of the other reasons it's important for us to have this flexibility, though, is that asset preservation pool. We were able to use that asset preservation money, particularly with outside contractors, because of the way legislation is written. Unfortunately, if they were self-performed by WKU personnel, we couldn't use those asset preservation dollars. And so to take advantage of that, we have to use this the right way. All right. Who saw Colonnade Way painted red? You should have seen my head on Saturday morning. Well, the first question was, did I approve this? The answer is no. It was a mistake. I'm thankful to the contractor who at no cost to us fixed the mistake. It was interesting for the 3 days on social media watching the reactions. They're very split. Some people loved it and thought it was cool and awesome. Other folks hated it, thought it was the dumbest thing they had ever seen. In that camp, it looked like a river of blood running back again. And so it didn't cost us anything. We got the right sealer on. I'm glad we got it done before student move-in. Susan was receiving frantic texts from me starting at whatever time, 11 o'clock on that Saturday morning saying, what is this? What do we do? And so, look, we make the best choices we can as a university. Somebody their hands are really bothered by our hands. So it's designed to be fragrance-free, dye-free, mild, and pH balanced with added moisturizers. If it's messing with your hands and you have suggestions, please let us know, but we're trying to make sure that everybody is comfortable if possible. We're intentional about that, right? Trying to make smart choices. IT, why doesn't IT do more for our university? Well, let me first start by saying IT is doing everything that they can do in with their staffing levels. Our staffing study showed IT is the most under-resourced in terms of personnel organization on campus. We are working hard, but they're doing amazing things with scarce resources. And so the internet pretty much works. That doesn't happen by accident, right? That takes a lot of time and effort. And everything else that just kind of works is not accidental. It takes people paying attention and fixing little things that you'll never see, you'll never know. It's just like when you turn the water on, you expect it to work. But I want to show a couple of things that they have been working on. In the past few years, they've done DegreeWorks, they've implemented FLAC, they built the slate admissions application, they did a workflow for inter-account, the faculty continuance, tenure and promotion policies, the FLAC corrections workflow. They've integrated dozens of pieces of new software across our campus, hundreds of network expansions, including 700 or 4,000 wireless access points, a bunch of upgrades for compliance sake. They're working hard. And so if you have suggestions, I encourage you to reach out to them. But know that they're working hard and they do a great job. And so Jeffy, I think, sent 10 pages of response. I'm not going to do all that, but there's a lot of stuff in here. So here's the last thing about it's about our future. What are the emerging trends in higher education, and what do you think will most affect our university? So, is it okay if I go over a little bit?
Of course,
Okay.
yeah.
So I apologize for taking a little bit more time, but I want to make sure I do everything I'm supposed to do. So you know there are fewer people being born every year, right? And we have a demographic cliff that comes in the next couple of years. We've already started to feel that. But there is a question of the value of college. We as a university and higher education industry has got to do a better job explaining to folks the value of a college degree. We know the average debt load for students who take on loan debt at WKU is $25,000. And over the course of a lifetime, they're going to earn $1 million more than they would, or more than they would have otherwise. They're going to earn about $600,000 more than if they had a technical or community college degree. If somebody said to you, if you give me $20,000, I'll give you $1 million over time, would you take that deal? And the answer is yes, every single time. But there are also questions about what we do as a university. And you all have heard there are families that are concerned that there's indoctrination that happens here, that their young people are being taught one thing and not taught other things. And I want to implore folks to know that that's not what we do. In our classrooms, we should be teaching every side of an issue. We should have viewpoint diversity on everything that we do as a university in the classroom. And, you know, the example I use of this is I'm a higher education professor. And I want to think about universities. And when I teach students about college and university management, I'll ask sometimes, what's the purpose of a university? And one lens allows me to say, well, it's about opportunity and changing the economic condition for people's lives. But on this side, I can also say it's about reproducing social class. Are those the same thing? No, they're almost polar opposites, right? So which one is it? And the answer is, it's both. You have to be able to use both lenses to look at the higher education system. Elite, public, private Ivy institutions absolutely reproduce social class. That's why they have legacy admissions. We don't have legacy admissions. We change people's lives and create economic opportunity. We need to have that kind of viewpoint diversity in everything we do. Most importantly, we have to help the public and the legislature understand we have. So you all recall in the spring, we had Kyle Rittenhouse come to campus. And for those of you who helped us navigate that, thank you. I know it was a challenge. I know for some it was frightening. But we demonstrated to the Commonwealth and our state's leadership that we can still be a place where people with varying perspectives and viewpoints can come and share them, no matter what those positions are. And look, I said in the spring, and I'll repeat today, when you're confronted with an idea with which you disagree, you got a bunch of options. You can attend the event, you can ignore it and not attend. You can ask questions of the speaker and then listen to the answer. You can create a counter program someplace else on campus, or You can protest peacefully and make your voice heard. We had all of that on our campus in the spring. And we did better than many of the other universities in the national media were portrayed. Because the event happened. We didn't chase anybody away. And the last thing, and this is the important part of the other side of free speech, we're a public institution. Free speech is paramount to what we do. Our young people went and asked tough questions, and they didn't create a heckler's veto. They allowed the speech to happen, they listened, and that was important. Important for them to demonstrate, we're not going to cancel you just because we disagree with you. And that can be said for just about any issue that's going to happen on our campus. And look, we know the environment is tense, right? Lots of things happen in our world. We must continue to focus on our obligation as a university, which is to create the space for those discussions to happen. Period. We're not canceling speakers. We're not preventing people from voicing their free speech rights. We need to make sure we navigate this in a way that demonstrates to the wider world that this, which in many ways may be the last place in the world where you can actually have civil discourse in higher education and universities, must continue to be protected. And we have to do everything in our power to live that every single day. So, last question around communication. I think we've done really well here. This is, I can't believe, this is year 8 for me. It feels like both an instant and a lifetime already. But when I came, we didn't used to have sit-down meetings once a month with the president and the chair of, at that point, staff council. One of the first things I did. The president didn't come visit and do this every year. We had that. We've got a good working relationship with your staff region and your previous staff region. And the one before that too, Pamela, I also got to work with. We send out, for those of you who have email and regular access to email, the provost or I communicate every week something about what we're working on as a university. And we have that today WKU newsletter. Also, we created to help increase communication. So those Monday messages didn't exist before. President's messages is what they're called, but I call them Monday messages because this was coming out on Monday. And so I want you to hear that we're trying to communicate out, but most importantly, we're trying to listen and respond. And so you all are the elected representatives for your areas. Use your voice. Use Tanya's access to me and to everyone else. The BEC, you have seats on the Budget Executive Council. Bryson's co-chair this year, right? And so use your voice there. We are trying to be responsive, transparent, accessible, and we'll continue to do that with you. But I would say I'm really proud of what we've accomplished together. I asked Tanya this, the leadership of both Faculty Senate and Staff Senate each year, tell me what you want to work on this year and tell me how I can help you accomplish it. And so there's some things we're going to work on. This is September 17th, and the coffee was one of them, so glad we could make that happen. But I just want you to hear from me, what you do is crucial to the success of our university. Every single one, every single member of the staff on this campus. And I will say, if you're taking care of people's air conditioning being out, or if you're cleaning up messes in the hallway, you're probably more important to a student's success, certainly than me, but maybe even faculty, right? Because it's a different kind of engagement or interaction. If you're serving food and a student's having a bad day, you can change that student's day. And they spend about 145 hours not in the classroom. So many more opportunities to interact with staff than with faculty. And so you are crucial to our culture as a university. You're absolutely necessary to us. And I want you to know that every decision I make is in the best interest from my perspective of the university. Sometimes, things are anonymous and people send things to the provost and to Susan, or they put it on social media, which is even more fun. No one is here trying to make decisions to hurt anyone. We all love this place. We all want the best for it. And we're all balancing various priorities and necessary choices to get us to where we need to be. And I reflect on that all the time. I know you make those choices. I want you to know that I make those choices. And where we need to get is a place where we trust one another. And I've had that conversation before. I think you should trust that the leadership of this university cares about you, values and respects you, and is doing everything that we can to help ensure WKU is in a good place, and therefore we're all in a good place for years and years to come. I didn't touch on R2 terribly much, like why is that important and good for the university? It's less about the university than it is our region. We have such a special position, not just for our students. We drive the economy of Bowling Green, Warren County, and South Central Kentucky. And for us to figure out as a region what we do next, we necessarily have to transform the work that we do. And that's what R2 is about. It's not just about increasing research productivity. It is about that. It's not just about getting more grants. It is about that. It also changes the kind of faculty we can recruit. It changes the kind of experiences we create. And most importantly, it changes the types of companies that we can bring from outside of Bowling Green into our region to help transform who we are. And that's why I'm here. So with that, I apologize for going over a little bit. I had about an hour's worth of remarks and we did about an hour. So thank you all for having me. I'm going to Northern Kentucky to meet with CPE next. So thank you and go Ducks. Thank you.
Does anyone want like a 2-minute break to get up or anything, or are we ready to go? Okay, we'll just go then. Just making sure. Okay. We are ready for our committee reports and Jennifer, you're up. Anna?
No report. I think we haven't had any action or any board stuff since we met last. So
All right,
happy to take questions, but I don't have any formal report. Thank you.
right. Communications,
No report.
treasurer,
Usual report of the status of our indexes, our ENG index, starting now is $3,700, in balance $3,700. Our stats and excellent fund, starting balance $2,125.12, additions of $15, disbursements none, ending balance $2,140.12. Our book scholarship fund, $1,819.84, additions of $15, no disbursements, ending balance $1,834.84. That's in my report.
thank you. Technology officer, we don't have one right now. Secretary, any report?
No report yet.
Okay, vice chair,
Workforce Committee continues to look for experienced WKU staff members that are willing to share their knowledge and experience to help onboard new WKU members. So if that sounds like you, contact us and we get you hooked up with a new WKU employee.
okay. For my report, I have a few different things. Jordan Ray was going to be a representative on the AVP and HR search committee. So thank you, Jordan, for being a part of that committee. Like the president said, the BEC held their first meeting on August 20th. This was more of an introduction meeting where the chair went over the year in review. Bryson Davis, who is one of our staff representatives, was the co-chair of the committee. The committee meets every other Tuesday. And then the timeline was that I'm on the committee, Herb's on the committee as well. So you do have representation on this committee. So if you have questions, please let us know and we will definitely bring those to their attention. The benefits committee met last week and submitted recommendations to the executive committee regarding the 2025 insurance rates. A final decision has not been made yet. Once the decision is made, they will communicate any new changes. And don't forget the open enrollment starts in October as well. And watch your emails because there will be lots of opportunities to go to open enrollments, and they will have sessions where you can, if you have questions about your benefits. So definitely just watch your emails and get involved for sure. This is also a reminder that the applications for the 2024 Staff Leadership Institute are now being accepted through Monday, September 11th. I'm sure a lot of you guys have been on that Staff Leadership Institute. It's a great opportunity for staff members to be a part and see different parts of the working university. I went through it years ago. I know Tish has been on it, and so it's a great opportunity. So if you want to submit your application, definitely get that out there by the 11th. And we do need a volunteer to serve on the calendar committee. That committee meets around once a year under, oh, do you have someone?
Sorry, you talked about it, I was gonna talk to you. But can volunteer for, that's one of the committees that's.
Okay,
the
awesome.
university Committee, so Kent had volunteered, so.
You'll send his name.
I'll connect you.
Okay, all right, okay, great. So we don't need a volunteer. Thank you, Kent.
Thank you.
I did meet, I had my first meeting with the president last week. During his discussion, he kind of talked about basically what we talked about. He wanted to know what our plans were. I explained to him about the meet and greet, doing the staff engagement survey earlier so that this Senate can work on it during that. He was very vested in the staff members. He wanted to know, like he said, what can he do for us? So if at any time you guys have questions, I want you guys to submit those, and I'm willing to ask those questions to the president. He was very open and honest, and it was a good, basically just an introduction meeting. So I do look forward, if there's some questions that need to be asked, please send them my way, definitely. We did receive an email. I did forward it to the executive committee. We received an email regarding the staff regent eligibility and who can actually be that. I don't believe that's in our constitution that identifies who can actually serve as, there are some KRS statutes that state members, excluding the president, vice presidents, academic deans. So we probably need to form a committee maybe to look at that and reword those and identify who can actually be on the staff regent. So I will forward that email to you guys, and then we can talk about maybe coming up with that. And that brings another point. Jordan, have you received any information or from the Constitution?
Have not yet received any, but please, if you have any suggested updates to the bylaws or the staff senate constitution, send that my way and we can all review.
Yeah. So, I mean, these will be just suggestions, because in order to make any changes, we do have to have the 5 members sign off on those changes. And I know one of the changes we wanted to look at was the attendance policy on that, because right now it is stating that if you miss 2 or more meetings, but I think we definitely need to look at the wording on that as well. So, but if you guys have any edits or anything that just seems kind of out there, please forward it to Jordan so we can discuss. Okay, and I think that's all for my report. So, old business, the staff engagement survey, we went ahead and extended it until September 6th. Last week, prior to our email, that or as a reminder email, we had 300 people submit. Out of 1,000, that's around 30%. So I'm hoping to get around more like 40 or 50%. So if you, as a senator, if you can encourage others, maybe stop by an office and say, hey, have you filled out this survey? Or just encourage others to fill out that survey. It's a great voice, and that makes a difference. So if people are not getting involved and have a lot of that, so I think it's important as us to encourage that. So hopefully we'll have some additional, especially after today's meeting, and then sending out the reminder, letting people know about the survey has been extended. The staff senate meet and greet, that was a welcome surprise that Caboni is gonna have Spencer's coffee for us, so that'll be awesome. I'll get I don't know if it's just gonna be open, I'll find out more details, because I didn't know that was gonna happen, so he couldn't be there, but hey, we get free coffee, so that's exciting. So that's a welcome change, and that will be on September 17th from 2 to 4 p.m. We will be recognizing years of service for faculty or staff members around 2:30. We had 54 faculty staff members that had a certain either 5, 10, 15, up to 40 years of service. And we invited them to come. We've had around 20 so far RSVP that should be there. So we should have a good crowd. there. I'm hoping that other staff members will come and join us and learn more about the Staff Senate in an open setting versus just a meeting. So it's our first time. We'll see what happens and go from there. I think that's all for old business. Anything else with old business? Yes.
So I know that we talked last time, about the staff swipes down at Fresh. I
Mhm.
did reach out to Robert Huffman. And he said that he forwarded it off to someone else, so I'm just waiting to hear back to see what. he
Okay.
thinks.
I did mention that to the president and when I met with him, just talking about the Fresh, and that's when he mentioned where he had received the flack for doing the coffee and how are we spending money on coffee. He was gonna look into it also, so I don't know if he was aware of that situation, because even if we could increase it to 2, maybe that would be something that would be neat. So thank you for doing that. And if you don't hear something, maybe by the next when I meet with him again, I'll mention to it and see if he can find out some more information. So thanks, Tish. Any more old business? Okay, new business. We do need to elect a new technology officer. Jason Kanzler is leaving the university. So is there anyone that's interested in volunteering? I did send out a call, so I nominate Kent to be our technology officer. Do you accept, Kent? I'm not putting you on the spot. You do not have to. You're already saying that. Anyone else interested in being the technology officer? Okay. So Kent, you are a new technology officer. Thank you. Yes, thank you for stepping up. I appreciate that. So Kent Johnson. Okay. Okay, we always leave a time for public comment. Does anyone have any public comment they would like to just address? Okay. The announcements again will be, our next meeting will be on October 2nd at 10 a.m. at DSU. And then of course, the Staff Senate Fall Meet and Greet on September 17th from 2 to 4 p.m. Okay, with that being said, I'm calling for the end of the meeting. Any objections? Okay, we're good to go.